Hey everyone, this is John Puritz. Welcome to the Man Up Already podcast. This show is dedicated to each of us being better in all areas of our lives, mentally, spiritually, physically, and relationally. We want to help you be a better you because when you man up already, the world around you is greatly impacted. Here on the podcast, we don't believe you're an accident. We believe each of us is created for purpose, and this show is dedicated to helping you discover and live out that purpose. Again, welcome to the show, and let's check out another great episode. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Man Up Already podcast. As always, super excited to have you here and to be here. And man, the incredible guests keep rolling. Super fun conversations that we've been having lately, and I'm glad that we can continue to bring value and valuable content to you. And I appreciate you checking us out and you listening. For all of you real ones, as they say, that listen continuously, thank you so much. And hey, we're we the intro says it all. What we stand for, what we believe in. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. If you want to follow us, hit the subscribe button. Right. If you want to get updated on what we have going on, right, hit those buttons. Become an active participant in the conversation. There's so much ahead for the podcast and for the Man Up Already movement, Man Up Already coaching. There's just a lot going on, and we're super excited. So we have another great guest today. I'm going to bring them up. They are a coach, a mentor, a speaker. This individual has had three major role models in his life: his mother, his aunt, and his sister, and that helped influence him to develop care, compassion, and empathy to launch a successful coaching business for women. So it's interesting. We have not had a guest like that on the podcast, so I'm excited for the conversation. He's a champion for gender equality, a father, a believer in one's unlimited potential. Please welcome to the Man Up Already podcast, Simon Calderbank. Simon, it's a pleasure to have you on the Man Up Already podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to finally meet you. I love the title, Man Up Already. Beautiful. So I was intrigued, given that I do a lot of work with women, to talk to a man around leadership, coaching, and hopefully lots of other interesting conversations as well.
Yeah, so let's dive into that. So I had said on the intro, I have not had many people on here that their coaching is geared or predominantly, because I think the majority of your coaching is with women. You said that you coach men as well. But let's dive into that because, I know, that let's start with your influences with your mom and your aunt and your sister. You said you were influenced heavily by three women in your life. So let's kind of start there.
Yeah, well, my dad left us when I was about 4 years old. And his influences, even though it was only short, I can still remember it as being disastrous. He wasn't the best role model. He worked hard, give him that. He was a good grafter and he was very entrepreneurial. He ran his own businesses, which I admired, but that's kind of where the admiration stopped. So he treated my mum with contempt. So she raised us, and then my auntie moved in probably about 3 years later when my grandma died. So my auntie kind of came into our house because she was devastated. And then, so I was influenced by three very different women in terms of what they provided me. One was resilience. That's my mum. My auntie was probably the most positive person I've ever come across, just full of confidence. She acted, not just in her daily life, but she acted at a high level in the amateur dramatics. She won lots of awards. And my sister was a teenager who gave me guidance in what it meant to become a young man, adolescence, puberty, girls. She was a great sort of influence in that respect. So I had three very different role models that kind of taught me a lot, but they taught me from a woman's perspective. So I never had any real male influence. A lot of my mum's and auntie's friends were gay. So the male influence I had were gay men. So I was never really given a sort of a direct sort of male role model. So you kind of, that's what I got used to. That for me was normal. it created quite a few interesting conversations at school, as in I got a lot of verbal bullying because there was no dad in my life, and I was quite how can I put it? I was quiet. I'm not now, and I was gentle. I was gentle, mate. I was kind of I didn't really do violence, didn't do fighting. I got picked on. I got battered a few times because I just didn't know what to do. For me, you would talk your way out of problems or make people laugh or usually talk. When I got cornered, I'd usually have to talk my way out and use my tongue to its best ability. It didn't always work. I've got a few bruises still, but that was my world, Chris. Growing up, it was very much female-led. So empathy was, I suppose, fed me daily, even though I didn't even know what empathy was till probably about 15 years ago. So it was kind of subconsciously happening in this continual flow of the woman's perspective, the woman's world, the woman's way. So therefore, when I got into coaching 12 years ago, I was just drawn to women. And I just presumed it was because women are more, how can I put it, more comfortable being uncomfortable, sharing their vulnerabilities, wanting to grow, develop. And I also thought, well, because of the people I work with, mainly within HR, that's a very female-led career path. So I didn't put two and two together until my auntie passed away 3 years ago. And then it all started to make sense because I did a lot of digging back into her world and then realized her influence and started becoming more visible in my, I suppose, in my marketing and promotion to attract more women. It did get quite a lot of, how can I put it, jagged conversations with women about why should they listen to a white, middle-aged, entitled man. What did I know about women? How could I coach women through women's problems? So yeah, you know those tipping points in life happen, and you step back, you reflect, and you realize, being raised by 3 women might have something to do with it. And then it all started to unravel. And I've helped hundreds of women who've trusted me and who've appreciated my perspective. That's both, I suppose, female led, but also male driven. So I kind of sit in the middle.
Sure.
I've got an interest. I'm a hybrid. People have said an adopted female. A couple of clients have called me, which is, I take that as a lovely compliment. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of how I've got to be where I am. And when I say work with a variety of people, I work with a big group of a lot of customers yesterday, and male, female, all different genders. But for me, that one-to-one opportunity to work with a woman is powerful. I suppose maybe it's me paying back what my mum, my auntie, and my sister gave me, which was a platform to be who I am. So maybe it is a payback. I don't know, or it's just my way of saying thanks. I'm now going to carry on and promote, I suppose, promote women to get to a more equitable place in the world. And I've got a daughter, Chris, as well. She's really important to me, and 14 years old. So I don't want her to face the crap that I see women leaders face today.
Yeah, I want to dive into that. You had, before we do, you had just used a word that I want to kind of unpack a little bit when you were referring to yourself. Why should a man coach me? And the word you used was entitled. Where did that come from? Like, why did you use that word?
It came from a woman, somebody who I'd worked with years ago, and she just dropped me a DM and just said, "I'm really affronted by how you're appearing in socials." So I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, and that was it. She said, "Why should I listen to a white CSI gender entitled male? You're privileged. What can you teach me? And why should I listen to you?" And I said, "But we've known each other for years." And she said, "The person I know now is the person I see online. So for all I know, you may have shifted and changed. It's a bit weird." I get that a lot. It's a bit weird that why should a man feel that they have an entitlement to help women? Women are oppressed. And I was all, yeah, but isn't that the whole purpose, that I can maybe help women understand how to navigate the world of man being one? Because I do look at it from a very different, a different way, because my influences were female. So she said, well, you need to prove it to me. So I wrote the longest blog I've ever written. It took me about 3 days of heartache. And then I presented it back to her and said, please read this and give me your thoughts on it. And she said, that's what I was looking for, an understanding of your heritage and what drives you and your background, your backstory. That's what I needed. And she gave me permission to publish it because I asked for her permission. So it was her who used the word entitlement. She said, if I think that and I know you, what do all those women out there who just see your online presence think? So it was a really good wake-up call for me to understand that I know my context, I know my background, but other people only have a fleeting moment when they're searching for that person, that coach, that mentor. And all they might see is, man, no chance, and move on.
Right.
And I know I lose opportunities, which is a shame because I've got, say, hundreds of great stories, success stories to share of women who have taken that leap of faith and have come out the other side thankful that they did.
What would you say? Yeah, I love the challenge, right? Like I love when people say, well, prove it, right? Because that helps us kind of go deeper. Like, okay, that's, that the challenge of, all right, I know who I am, I know what I can do, but now here's an opportunity to really kind of mold, shape that, and present that. How do you think that impacted your coaching program, forward from that challenge?
I think the actual program itself probably didn't shift that much because the framework I use, it's robust, it's reliable, it's tested, it works. What it did make me appreciate was the shit that women go through. I think I probably was a wee bit blinkered because I'd worked in environments when I worked in companies. I suppose I've been not fortunate. I'd found my own path, and I'd always worked in companies that aligned with my values and culture. So I'd probably not really been exposed to the misogyny, prejudice, systemic biases, work stereotypes that I now hear a lot of. So I suppose I wasn't blinded or blinkered, but I just wasn't as aware because I'd not experienced it. So I think if anything did change, it was the way I saw the world in terms of appreciating the real problems and barriers that women face. And some of them are self-inflicted in terms of sort of, I suppose you could say, belief systems and self-talk. But then when I dug deeper, I realized that men always seem to be at the heart of every problem. So I really wanted to unpick that. So I suppose if my coaching has shifted, it's been more appreciative and understanding of the challenges that my brothers have created. And that's the part I want to really dig into and understand, and still searching for the real behavioral shift. What is it about male energy that doesn't seem to be aligned with female energy in the workplace? Outside of work, doesn't seem to be that much, not say a concern, but that bigger concern. Men seem to operate differently when they go to work than when they are at home with loved ones. And that's the piece I'm looking to uncover. And I'm sure there's many before me who tried to uncover that as well.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, and there's a lot. Really, this is all good stuff. I think number one, as I work with men and champion men, because I do so because I think we've just moved so far from, the subtitle of the podcast is Discover Your Created Purpose. And I do believe we're all a divine design. And I think our role as men, provider, protector, we're seen as, you said it yourself, right? Like your dad wasn't a role model. He left, I think that there's a role that we are called and created to be that doesn't have to, one of the things I see, Simon, with men is, and it happened for me as well, is we're so focused on providing, and playing a role that in those moments when we're not in that role, a lot of men don't know what to do with themselves, right? What will the real man kind of stand up? And I think when we step into the workplace, the single track, and with working with women, how women process information and what they keep in their mind is very different to how men do, right? We tend to think singularly. What I'm focused on is what I'm focused on, and the other things are not dealt with in that moment. And I think that when we get into the workforce, maybe that single-mindedness can be very damaging to who's around us, without the empathy, without the emotional intelligence, without understanding who we're around and how we operate. So,
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've experienced that enough times, and I think a really interesting point you made about men more single-minded, potentially, but the way we are wired, are neurologically wired. We don't have the same ability to connect across our brain hemispheres as women do.
Right.
So neurologically, women have got more connectivity across their brain hemispheres than men. So that's why women can have a much more propensity to multitask more so than men. As you said, women can handle a lot more. So therefore, does that say that their impact is diluted because men are so focused and driven? And the idea of provider, does that play a role in the workplace? Probably. So if you think about what my role was in my world, there wasn't a male role there. So I was never really geared to be the provider. I was geared to be the person who provided support, the person who listened. My mum used me as an emotional sounding board from the age of 8 years old. I mean, I had not got a clue what she was talking about. I just used to sit there and listen because I could see when she offloaded, and boy, could she offload. It made her feel better.
Right.
So therefore, she would go from this agitated, and not aggressive at all, but agitated, angry, let down, lack of belief. Why would her husband leave her, walk away, leave her with 2 children? That's that sense of failure. So I would listen to this, and then I could see her calm come back, and then I'd get hugs and cuddles and back scratches. So I thought, happy days. If I keep listening, I get good stuff. It was like getting brownie points. Yeah, but as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, and then that kind of became the norm. And guess where I went to when I was frustrated and felt like a failure? Straight to my mum. So I kind of repaid the favor, and we'd have some interesting dynamics in terms of our frustration levels. But we always kissed and made up. We always were each other's safety blanket.
Right.
So therefore, mum was like a dad. She was like mum and dad. But the role for me that she played was the one of nurturing. And also, she did toughen me up because we used to call her the Spitfire. She's only tiny, about 5'2". But boy, when she blew, man, she blew. So she was a tough cookie. She still is, even though she's almost 90 now and suffering with Alzheimer's. The fire still burns within her. Every now and then, it's as if something triggers, whether it's music, a word, usually the fact I've not shaved, and my mum is back in the room for maybe 2-3 minutes, and then she reverts back to the present version of her, which is just like a shadow. So yeah, I never shave now, just so my mum can do this and go back to the mum of 25, 30 years ago.
Wow, that's powerful.
I know. Yes, it's interesting,
Amazing.
isn't it? How
very.
we think about where we've come from, and yeah, I mean, I've run my own business. I've always been driven to earn money, but I've never had that urge to provide, or even though I do, it's not a big, results for me aren't not a big priority for me. Giving people support is priority. Being enthusiastic about life, collaborating, taking action, but never in that sort of results. As long as I'm okay, as long as I've got choices and what I need and my family needs, I'm fine. So yeah, different drivers, maybe they are embedded as we grow up. They probably are, just not aware of them.
So, you really kind of just shared that you were conditioned to listen, right? To that, and I know that's a big difference between, in relationships, right? Women really do need men to listen, to seek to understand, So I wanted to ask if you could say, all right, after working with hundreds and hundreds of women, here's kind of and I didn't prepare you for this question, so if it's not something that you can do, that's okay, right off the cuff. But if you had to say, these are the 5 things that women want from men, what would you narrow that down to?
The first one that comes into my head is respect.
What does that look like? You know what? Let's do this. You label them off, and then we'll dive into them. So respect is one.
Respect. Hear me, as in, don't just listen to me. Truly hear me. Understand that I am different.
So understand me.
Yeah. Support me. And believe in me.
All right. Love that. So in the conversation of respect me, what does that look like?
I think it's when I speak, obviously it kind of rolls in. When I speak, hear me and listen to understand, and don't listen to reply. I have a perspective. I have context. I have experience. I see the world in a different way. And therefore that deserves to be listened to. Therefore that deserves to have the respect that you give other men. So treat me with the respect that you treat other people. Don't see me as beneath you. See me as on an equal footing. Learn from me. There's another one. Learn from me. Add that to this. That's number 6. Learn from me. Given the fact that, and I'm talking as a woman, as in womanhood, I brought you into this world. So trust me. I kind of know what I'm doing. And that's the bit that I find fascinating, how, why do men treat women, not all men, treat women the way they do when it was a woman that gave us life?
Women were always, for me, on an equal footing. You know what I mean? And if you can bring the skills to the table and you can do the job, you know what I mean? I never thought anything different than that. So it baffles me when the ego, idea that no, because she's a woman, she doesn't bring to the table what needs to be brought, however you want to put that. So from a respect standpoint, I mean, like you said, ask a man to birth a baby, right? That's not going to be good, right?
Yeah, just watching a baby born is enough for any man. That's like, whoa, back off. But yeah, and just on that, the idea of, I hear men still today, yeah, but she'll be getting pregnant soon, won't she? What? She'll be getting pregnant. That means time off. Well, let's just recruit the man, because we won't lose them for 12 months and have to pay. There's a resentment. I do think there's an underlying resentment.
Wow.
Even though women brought us into the world, that men are more accessible to recruit. Men are more ambitious. Men are more comfortable to embellish themselves in terms of their abilities than women are. And it's that idea of provide, that ego, that drive to succeed, I think, is stronger in men than it is in women. Not saying women don't succeed, obviously, but I've seen it. There's enough stats to say that men will go, well, I've got 6 of those attributes out of the 10. I'm applying for the job. Whereas a woman will go, no, I've not got all of them. I won't get the job. Men are more, I think is ambition part of a man's DNA more so than a woman's? Not too sure. But there does seem to be underlying conversations that still take place that men go, and it's like, well, if men are in charge of the recruiting, is it any wonder? It's almost like so what did someone say the other day? It's like bro culture. It's like the bro club.
Yeah, I've seen
Let's only invite people in. Let's only invite those people in who we feel are going to either make us better or make us look better. Men seem to have more longevity, end of the day. So what if women take time off work to give birth? So what? It's always been that way. Why is that an issue?
And I mean, to your point, right? I've seen women, right, have careers, have children, and get right back in. Like I often say, again, going back to how our brains work, their ability to do that is one, a strength. Two, men we don't have that, right? Because we don't multitask that way.
No.
So even what you're talking about is being derided is actually a bona fide strength.
Absolutely. So therefore, if that was to be presented on a blind CV, you'd be all, get this person in. What? They can do this, 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 and this. There wouldn't be any issue, surely, because you say it's a strength that, I'm not saying all men, but it's a strength that you would want to tap into. You'd want to be part of that. You'd want that as part of your business or part of your organization or part of your leadership team. You wouldn't be all, what can multitask? Resilience of a reservoir, multiple strengths. Nah, no thanks. You'd be waving, in you come, red carpet rolled out. I still do to this day do not get it. Is it a fear? Is it a fear of being usurped, overcome? Is it a fear of actually realizing that we're not as good as we thought we were? Well, surely the blend is what you're after, that blend of perspectives, those different contexts and different skills, different energies make the best team.
And what you just said is why I'm on the mission that I'm on, because I really do believe that what holds men back is what you're talking about. Like if we would actually focus on, I personally believe that a lot of men are in crisis because they don't know how to share. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know where those safe places are. And so they keep everything inside, they push it down, right? And then they show up in the workforce or whatever, and they can't relate to, you said in your list of things, in hear me and understand me, is empathy. Empathy is being able to listen to listen without judgment, to be able to understand, right, where a person is, what's their perspective, what are they feeling, right? And I agree with you, right? But I would say as a whole, at least from my experience, and we as a society are sometimes losing our ability to be empathetic because of the massive amount of information coming our way. But to just stop and just listen to this person, what are they trying to say? What's their perspective? I say listen through a lens of grace, right? Because we're all, right? Everybody's got a story. Everybody's going through stuff. Just listen and seek to understand who this person is, where they're coming from, and how can, like you said, move forward as a team.
Yeah. As you do in a partnership outside of work. I've had conversations with male leaders, and I asked the question, say, okay, then, so I'm detecting, I'm hearing the discontent and the discord in the workplace, because I will go in and, I'm fortunate. I also do a lot of work with businesses on their culture. So, and values and the vision and mission aspect. So you get to talk to people, and of course you get to do your internal research with colleagues and stakeholders. And then you present back to the board, and the board is usually made up of white, middle class, entitled men, white as well. And you kind of feedback, and I just say, look, there are grumbles of the way you speak to women, the way you treat them, the way you uphold certain toxic male behaviors. You give permission for men to behave the way they do. You set the example. I said, so let's imagine if I brought your family into work, yeah, you didn't know they were there, and that's maybe your wife or an auntie, a sister, a mother, a grandma, or your daughter, and they were just walking around and they were observing you without you aware. What would they see? Well, we know what they'd see because there's the evidence. But what would they say? How would it make them feel? And then when I presented back to you that you'd been watched for a day or a week, how would you feel? Oh, mortified. Right. So if you're going to feel mortified about how you show up to your family in the workplace, why on earth do you show up in the workplace like that?
And what response do you get to that?
There is really no answer. Wow. So that for me, but I believe that's the one avenue, that emotional connection to women, not a work connection, an emotional connection that hopefully might start to unravel what it is that men, it's almost like when they leave the front door at home, they morph into this alter ego or this other aspect of their psyche. And again, because it's almost like leaving the cave and becoming the provider. Whereas if their family were to watch them, they'd be horrified. And they're quiet. Yeah. And I said, well, does the penny not drop then when you realize that your behaviors are not acceptable and yet you still persist with them? Yeah, but I'm different at home. Right. Okay. So is that a choice, or does something happen when you leave? Of course it's a choice. So you choose to play this role in the workplace. You choose to play a role at home. Why don't you play the home role in the workplace? And what you sometimes get back is, I'd get walked all over. Okay. Who by? Men. Fucking hell. Really? Okay. Surely we all have a role to play that's about creating an equal society, a better society, a world where your children, my children, their children can grow up safe, respected, reassured. Isn't that what you want? Of course it is, yeah. Well, I hear this, but your actions don't demonstrate it. So your intent is good, but your actions are shocking. The two don't marry. So what are you going to do about it? What do you want me to do? Change. I want you to change. How to do that? Let me show you. But you have to be willing to be shown and willing to appreciate the impact that would have. And don't worry, your mortgage is safe, your job's safe, your salary's safe. The results of the business are actually going to improve if you boost the morale of your workforce and you elevate women to the position which they belong in, which is on an equal footing with you. So therefore, it's in your interests to actually supercharge women and remove the barriers, because it will create a boost to your bottom line. It's not hard. In fact, it's so simple.
Yeah, I agree.
It's removing the personal barriers of, how will it make me look? Will I lose face? No. Because if you do it and you're the boss, it will cascade down and other people will then go. So you have to set the bottom up is wonderful, but bottom up can't survive unless it's top down as well. Said it's just a cultural shift for you. It's a gender shift. It's an equality shift. Whatever it is, it's a shift. And if your drivers are this, and this, doing this will support those drivers. It will make you a better business. It'll make you a decent human being, and it will set an example to your staff, your colleagues, your stakeholders, and to your children. And you can look in the mirror and feel proud. What's not to like? It's common sense to me.
Well, there's a couple of things. One is first, real strength, masculine strength is actually what you're talking about, championing couldn't get that out, right? A woman's who she is created to be, right? And so if you're standing in your masculine strength, you empower that, you support that, right? That is real strength. So when you say, well, I'm going to be looked down upon by men, the real issue is my second point. And I've made this point, it's kind of the core of everything that I talk about, is that if you actually spend time here on yourself, the strength of who are you, especially as a man, right? I think what happens is men don't tend to spend time on themselves, getting strong internally. And so therefore what's not in here can't be obviously presented to the world. And so they're playing from a defensive position, which John Eldridge and is also a key component to what I talk about, is the poser. So the poser is running the company surrounded by posers. A strong woman shows up. She's a threat to the pose, the facade. And the next thing you know, right, we have what you're talking about. But if it all, for man and women, if we spent time working on ourselves, self-discovery, right, knowing who you are, that belief and that strength inside, then you can present that to the world around you because you're not threatened. And you actually lift the people up around you. It's a key component to what I'm talking about.
Brilliant. But when you hear that played back, there's nothing in there that's actually that difficult apart from taking that first step to actually to own up that you are part of the problem, but you're also massively part of the solution. You know, it's a mindset shift, isn't it? It's a belief system shift.
Absolutely.
It's huge.
But that's, again, looking at the world through a lens of grace, because if you understand that all of us have issues, all of us deal with things, right? Nobody's perfect, right? And so if we spent more time dealing and accepting that, I think the hard part is the threat of self-discovery, the fear of, oh gosh, what if I've got to face that trauma? I've been carrying this bag around from my childhood, and it affects how I see the world and what lens I see. What happens if I really deal with that? I call it your Vader moment, right? I'm a big Star Wars fan. Like, right. Luke had to face his father, right? That was the key. You cannot progress unless you confront your father. And everybody's got that thing that they would rather just deal with external things than the thing that's inside. So, sorry, I don't mean to go on a tangent, but that's just
Well, I faced the inside. I definitely looked in the mirror, and then I found the next mirror and the next mirror, because I didn't like the person I could see myself turning into, which was self-obsessed, somewhat self-indulgent, self-righteous. And I just thought, I am going to become the very person that I despise. So I did something about it. I read lots of books, lots of self-help books. I thought it was mainly for work, but also to try and understand who I was, why I behaved the way I did, why I was doing the things I did. What was I looking for? I didn't know who I was. So I wanted to try and go on this sort of, I suppose, this voyage of self-discovery. And I didn't like what I found. So I decided to do something about it. I mean, I remember going to anger management therapy because I was so frustrated with who I was. And as you said, I suppressed and suppressed and suppressed. And all I then did was it would come out as just a mishmash of venom, anger, hate, self-loathing. And I can see the therapist now, and it was 25 years ago. And that woman was my tipping point. That woman was, again, was the person who gave me, I suppose, a neurological and psychological slap and just said, this is your path. This is where you're going to end up. You choose. Or we can look at this path, and it's going to be rocky. It's going to be difficult, but there's a salvation for you at the end of it. But you have to trust me, learn from me, and apply what I'm going to teach you. And it's your choice. And thankfully, I made the choice that got me to where I am today. I still got her teachings. I still kept them because they were monumental.
Right. Well, I can really relate to what you're talking about. I mean, I think back on earlier versions of myself that, like gosh, man, I wish I could go back and shake that person up. But you learn and you grow and you transform, you level up, and I've always tried to do that. So I think it's really important. But for our listeners, and as we tie this up, Simon, when we first started, I was thinking, where would this conversation go? And you are on the front line in context of what Man Up Already is all about. You are on the front line of what it looks like when a man does not face himself. He formulates all these detrimental opinions, judgments, or whatever. And I just want to say to our listeners, I can't, and our listeners are men and women, but I can't stress enough how important it is for everyone to take the time to heal what is broken, to do the work. Because we would, like you said, we would change culture. We would change what would it look like if everybody, and I understand it's utopian, would look at the world through a lens of grace, through empathy, through care, right? That's where real strength lies.
I wholeheartedly agree. And, but you look at the world as we see it now, and it's imploding. It's a mess. It is a mess. The wider world is in turmoil. So if I can make changes in the world that I operate in, as in my world, my community, and then hopefully that will ripple out. I mean, there's thousands and thousands and probably tens of thousands of men like me, but they're not seen.
Right.
They're not visible. Whereas I'm visible. I'm online every day. I talk about this. I shout about it in the right way. I champion it. I bang a drum. I'm part of a big collective of called Northern Power Women. So I'm part of their collective, which is a thing in the UK, 120,000 strong community. 99.5% of it is female. So I learn every time I'm around that community. I just soak up and learn and listen, understand, and then go out and advocate for change. So I'm doing my little piece, bit by bit.
I love it.
And I applaud what you're doing as well, John, because we are here. I just think we need to come together and demonstrate that, look, I'm okay. Nothing untoward has happened to me because of the way I am. I'm actually happier. I'm more fulfilled. I'm engaged with the world. My kids are proud of me. I think they are. Yeah. It hasn't changed me, by not being that stereotypical man. I'm still performing. I'm still functioning. But again, I'd love to hear the other side of it, the male perspective, in terms of that stereotypical, the provider, and understand the provider. What is it that drives them? What are they not wishing to give up?
So I always like to ask our guests, how can people find you, connect with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
Well, obviously online is the best way, unless they happen to be around Greater Manchester in England, hearing me banging my drum. So LinkedIn is my playground. That's where I'm saying playground. It's a bit of a crazy playground at the moment, but that's where I produce most of my content, my ideas, my thoughts, sometimes my controversial thoughts on male allyship and prejudice at work. So LinkedIn, Simon Calderbank, you'll find me.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many like me. Or Instagram. I'm kind of on there every now and then, but LinkedIn is where I'm more comfortable because my audience is there and I've got a good, strong community that supports me and challenges me. That's where my old colleague hunted me down and said, I think you're wrong. I think you need to reassess how you show up online. So yeah, I've learned a lot from LinkedIn community and I've got lots of friends and it's great to meet more people. So yeah, I'm always open for a chat, always open to connect and make the world a better place, John, just like you.
Yeah. And I'll make sure we connect on there as well.
Thank you. I'd love that.
Listen, thank you so much for the conversation today. It's very insightful. I hope it impacts our audience. I have no doubt it will. And keep doing the amazing work that you're doing.